Welcome to Unleashing Happiness, the podcast where I teach you how to change your mindset, change your habits, and actually change your life. Happy Monday. Welcome back to Unleashing Happiness. I am your host, Cecilia Hendricks. And if you are new here, absolutely welcome. This is actually the 7th bonus episode that I am doing for the podcast that is based off of a 14-day series that I did through email a couple months ago. Actually, it's been a little bit. And I decided to take that content after getting really great feedback on how well it worked and put it into a 10-week course where I combined some stuff, remove some stuff, made some changes, and wanted to share it out on my podcast. So if this is the episode that you're coming into, it would be really beneficial for you to go back and listen to all of the other weeks as well. They're all titled bonus. They came out on Mondays. And again, this is the 7th version of it. And today we're going to get into one of my favorite pieces, and that's actually our night routine in setting ourselves up for success, not only with our mindset and the way that we're thinking, but also the actual environment that we're setting up for ourselves, the things that are around us, what is close, even the people that we have. So it's going to be very focused on night routine and our environment. A lot of times I've noticed that people really focus on the morning routine first. And for myself, I kept attempting to change my morning routine and was really struggling with it. I was just like, oh my gosh, I'm not keeping up with this. And then I had this light bulb moment that I wasn't keeping up with it because I wasn't setting myself up for success the night before. And that's when I decided to look at my night routine before the morning routine. What was the way that I could set myself up the day before so that first thing in the morning, when I'm a little groggy and I'm out of it, I'm able to focus and continue on with my plans? Because making a plan and continuing with it that's all in alignment with whatever desired outcome that I want is really key to getting this to work well for you. And there's a few things that go into a night routine that to me not only sets me up well for first thing in the morning, but also just sets up my day to go better. I'm a big follower of Neville Goddard. I definitely believe in his message that consciousness creates reality and that there's things within consciousness that are based off of our beliefs. But a lot of times I still believe that those beliefs can be very deep rooted, right? And there's still human limitations that are involved. I'm going to get sick now and then. I'm going to have a cold. I'm going to wake up congested some days. My back is going to be tight if I don't continue to use my body. I could get to an age where I'm not able to walk well because I didn't take care of myself when I was younger. These are beliefs that I still have based off of human limitations. And if you read a lot of Neville Goddard's lectures, he shares the same, that we are keyed low. It's not that we can just do absolutely anything and gives ourselves wings and go ahead and jump off of a building and fly. That's not the message. It's also not that you'll never get a cold or, get sick or have anything like that, or that you couldn't die some sort of honestly horrific death or something that we would look at as like a horrific death. A lot of times folks talk about the way that Neville died, and it did not seem to be that, pleasant. He was a heavy drinker for the majority of his life and definitely did reach kind of a demise that maybe would be in alignment with somebody who is a heavy drinker. That doesn't mean that the message is wrong. It just means that you have to be aware of your own deep-rooted beliefs. The assumptions that you make are very surface level unless you really get into some deep work. And that's why I found finding these very practical steps of changing my habits, working on the way that I was looking at the world, making sure that I was enjoying myself, doing things that I felt were good for me, like getting really quality sleep, getting morning sun, doing things like movement and making sure that I was spending more time outside. All of those equaled up to me having a happier, more fulfilled life. And I was able to pair that with the message of Neville Goddard, who talks a lot about the state that you're in, where you're dwelling, what kind of mood you're having that you continue to return to. Not that you can never have a bad mood or or feel down or be upset about something. That meant that when I was going to look at my night routine, I wanted to make sure that not only was I setting myself up for success the next day, but that I was also making sure that I was getting the best sleep, that I was rejuvenating, that I was in a feeling that I wanted to be in when I went to sleep. That is a huge kind of part of this, is making sure that when you go to sleep, you are really dwelling in the kind of feeling that you would want to have about your day. Was it a great day? Did you feel successful? Did you get the things done that you wanted to? Did you focus on yourself? And that's why one of the big questions that I always promote that you ask yourself throughout the day is, how do I want to feel when I go to bed tonight? If I'm my ideal self, and even if I feel like I'm working towards that person now, how would that feel when I went to bed? Would I feel relaxed? Would I feel relief? Would I feel successful? Whatever feeling it is for you, pride, it could be anything. But how do I want to feel when I go to bed as my ideal self? And throughout the day, you kind of ask yourself repeatedly, is what I'm doing now in alignment with how I want to feel when I go to bed? This is a very simple question that allows you to just kind of lean into learning more about yourself. And the nice thing is that there are times when I say, no, this is actually in complete opposition to the way that I want to feel. And it quickly, for me, reminds me to stop and consider what I'm actually doing. What is something then that I could do that was in alignment? And you know what? Some days, because I'm human, I'm like, no, it's not, but I'm angry right now and I'm going to continue this. And usually that starts to fade for me when I kind of first started this process. A little bit more often, I would almost justify allowing myself to dwell in a specific feeling or to vent. That was a big one for me. So I would say, no, this isn't in alignment. Like, let's say I'm venting about something to a friend. This is not in alignment with who I want to be. This is not the way that I want to behave. But I would justify it by saying, well, I'm just going to get this out and then I'll deal with it. I want to just make sure that I get these feelings out. And there's a couple things that you need to kind of keep in mind when you're doing this. The first being is that whatever state you dwell in, whatever identity you continue to go back to, is what you're going to continue to get in life. So if you make that decision that you're going to kind of continue down this and you want to make sure you get it all out, you have to realize that that's going to have an effect. So this behavior now is going to have an effect. That's the cause. There's an effect that's coming. And if you're willing to accept that and take that, then that's great. Continue doing what you're doing. You have to make choices for yourself. But if that's not what you want to have happen, then ask, what is something you could do better? If you're upset, what kind of tools could you use to get yourself back on track, to get your emotions regulated, to take a moment, to bring it back and not continue to go down the path that you're currently going, to not give this habit more of your attention and focus. And just to get you ready, the episode that I'll be doing, my regular episode on Wednesday, is all going to be about emotional intelligence, regulating yourself, getting back on track, and also providing yourself forgiveness. So definitely come back on Wednesday if that's an area that you would like more information about. That'll be published on Wednesday morning. And that's Wednesday, October 18th. But the second part that I started to question myself when I found that I was giving myself kind of permission to continue venting was realizing that what I was doing to the other person was also not fair. I was affecting their energy. I was affecting the way that they were perceiving the world, and I was kind of dumping on them. And sometimes we've all had like maybe a friend or a family member who almost all that they do is quote unquote vent, and it gets exhausting, right? Like after some time, at least for me, I would run into them and be like, man, I don't really want to have this conversation because I was feeling really good today and they just don't stop complaining and they just put everything down. And I didn't want to be that person. And it wasn't that I didn't want to support them in what they were going through and make sure that I was there for them, but it went beyond that. When you're just venting just to vent, there's no solution, there's nothing coming out of it. then you're really affecting their energy, and you can change kind of the energy of their day. And that's not fair to do to somebody else. That was kind of my feeling about it. I didn't know what headspace they were in for the day. I didn't know if they were open and even had the ability at that moment to take my venting and move on and not allow it to affect their day. And I didn't want to do that to somebody else. I didn't want to be the person that created this kind of like feeling of doom and gloom and frustration out to somebody else. And so I made the choice that I needed to find other ways to get stuff out. And that's when the emotional regulation and emotional intelligence comes in. It's not about not having those feelings. It's not a toxic positivity that you're just pushing them down and ignoring them and not allowing yourself to feel what you need to feel. But it is about making a choice of the way that you're going to deal with it. There are so many different ways to regulate yourself, to let the frustration out, to let the anger out, to let the annoyance out, that doesn't require somebody else getting kind of that venom being spewed from you. So let's go ahead and jump on into the night routine. I want to caveat this that I'm going to share kind of a list of ideas of things that you can do for your night routine to get yourself set up, share a little bit of what my night routine looks like at this point in time, but also remember that it's about you. It's about what works for your life, the way that your sleep cycle goes, the things that you want to focus on, and the way that you would like your next day to go. So I think an important piece is, we've worked leading up to this about making sure that we're focused on our ideal self, who it is that we want to be, what the desired outcome that we want to have is. And so your night routine, just like any other routine that we're going to focus on, should really make sure that you're aligned with that person. You're aligned with kind of the ideals that that person would have and the habits that that person would have. So I'll be pairing the spiritual, which is really focusing on what you take into sleep with you, the way that you feel as you go into sleep to make sure that you're impressing your subconscious the way that you want to. And also the scientific pieces that talk about the way that you can make sure that you're optimizing your sleep better, you're getting better sleep, that you're feeling more mentally refreshed as you go into your night. And so you take, kind of what works for you and what does not work for you, test it out, kind of see how it is. I always recommend, even if you find something that I share a little eye rolling or ridiculous, to at least try it for a week. See if it works for you. And if it doesn't, then drop it and don't worry about it and try something else. Using self-experiments of saying, I'm going to do this for 1 week, I'm going to do this for 14 days, I'm going to do this for 30 days, is the best way to really find what works for you, what makes you feel the best, and what aligns you to your ideal self and the life that you're feeling more fulfilled. I am also a mom, and so I'm going to start at actually dinner time because I would like to share some of the things that I do with my kids to remain focused with them. And I have some habits that are kind of at dinner that help me feel connected to my children, and then also make sure that our house stays cleaned up. And those kind of habits are very important to me. So when I say that I have like a night routine, it really starts at dinner most evenings. We're a big sports family. My kids play hockey. If anybody out there is a hockey family, you know that those schedules can be kind of crazy. So I also give myself forgiveness on the nights that I don't get this stuff done. It's not that big of a deal, but I do try to make sure that the majority of nights I'm able to focus in this way. And I'm telling you that by implementing these pieces into my life that I'm about to share, it has made me just feel better overall. My skin has improved. My overall sleep has improved. The way that I feel when I wake up in the morning has improved. My house stays cleaner. I feel more connected to my children, which is a huge, very important goal of mine. I've got kids now that one's an adult, doesn't live at home, but two are at home and are teenagers. And it's important to me that we remain connected. And luckily for me, and fortunately, I have always had a really good relationship with all of my children. I absolutely adore them, and they absolutely adore me, even when they find me eye rolling. And I want to continue that. I want to make sure that I'm connected with them. I know what's going on in their lives, and they feel like they can talk to me. All right, so let's get going. One of the things that we started that we sometimes don't pay as much attention to, but I really like it when we do, is my husband actually kicked off a habit of taking one of my kids to the store for them to help pick out what we were going to have for dinner. And then they would come home and prepare the dinner together. And it's got a couple things that go into that. One is that we're connected and cooking together, but two is they also get to choose kind of what we're having for dinner, which is nice to give, especially teens, but I think any age, a choice in the things that we're doing. I remember me as a kid, loved my mom's cooking, but there was definitely times where maybe I had a craving for something and that wouldn't be what was for dinner. And it was fine, right? Like I definitely appreciated my mom cooking. It was never like some horrific thing by any means, but it was nice to allow my children to have the opportunity to pick what we were going to have for dinner. And then come home and learn how to prepare it, which is a really important life skill to have. You know, they know how to do the chopping, the cutting, the cooking, etc. And you can really do this with any age. If you have somebody or a child that's really younger, you can go to the store and allow them to maybe pick out a side dish and they can help prepare that side dish. And you can take some things out. I mean, I personally believe kids can learn how to use a knife pretty young. As long as you're there and you're kind of teaching them and they listen, okay, they can learn that. And that's a great skill to have. If you don't have children and you are with a partner, something great to do is to go to the store together and pick a meal that you're going to prepare together. As a mom for a very long time, I felt very overwhelmed with dinner. Like it was always my responsibility to figure out the dinner, make sure we had the ingredients, prepare it. And I finally kind of hit a point where I said something about it. And my partner, my spouse, was like, well, I'm really sorry. I just had never really occurred to me. And so then he started to, be more supportive in that. And so one of the things that we started to do as a habit was preparing more meals as a family, or at least a parent with a child, so that they're learning some of those core life skills. And during dinner, we actually play games. We have some board games that we do, or we have card games. Another one that we've recently started doing was asking like one person a question, like it may be, what has been your favorite family vacation? They write it down in their phones app. And then we all answer what we think they would have said. And then that person kind of shows their answer. And it is such a neat way to learn more about your kids, the memories that they have, what they enjoy. We did a whole list of questions. I'll actually put some down in the show notes if this is something you want to try. Me and my husband also use this when we go out on date nights for like kind of a fun little game for us to learn a bit more about each other while we're out on our dates. But any kind of game is really fun to play over dinner. It really opens up the conversation, and you can do it whether you have, a partner or you have children. That's something that you can foster with them and make sure that you're asking questions. So getting curious with yourself is something that I definitely promote, and getting curious with the people who are around you is something that I promote. The game that I was telling before, where like one person answers and you try to figure out what they're saying, it's also really fun to play through like text message or a Snapchat with friends. So you can, put the question out there, have them write it down on a piece of paper or something. You respond back in text. They take a picture of whatever their response was. So there's fun ways to do this that you're learning about others and also sharing about yourself. And what's beautiful is that sometimes these questions have you kind of be a little bit more considerate about what you would answer for yourself. Like, what was my favorite vacation out of all of our family vacations? What is the favorite? What is my favorite thing to eat? What is my favorite, sporting activity to go watch live? What's my favorite sporting activity to watch on TV? And it sometimes gives you more insight about yourself and what you enjoy. And then you can take those things and add them to your list of joys and make sure that you're doing it on a daily basis, or at least a weekly basis. Include it more into your life. After dinner, we have implemented what we call 15-minute cleanup, where we set a timer on our Alexa and we just start cleaning for 15 minutes. I have found that my kids just automatically go to what needs to be done, whether that's putting away the food, cleaning the pans, unloading the dishwasher, whatever it is, sweeping the floor. And now we're kind of to the point, because we do it so much, that it doesn't even really need the full 15 minutes. We have 4 people here on average. It gets done in like less than 10 minutes. And then your space is tidy, which is really important for just your overall mental well-being. I don't believe in having an obsessively clean house. Like, my home is definitely lived in. I want my children to feel comfortable to actually live in the home. But at the same time, having something that's tidy and clean, just for me as a human being, feels better. Not living in a cluttered space, not having stuff out all over the place. And this 15-minute cleanup helps that. The other nice thing is my kids aren't resistant to the help, because they know it's only going to be 15 minutes. Like, once that timer's up, we're done. I've never had an issue with them, like, kind of not helping and trying to just get through the timer. They're always really good about helping. And it's such a nice habit to start. Everybody expects it. They know that it's coming, and everybody within the house wants to live in a clean home. And the cooking, cleaning, grocery shopping, preparing of the meals, whatever it is, does not all fall on mom. I'm sure that not everybody listening has had the same issue, but I hear from a lot of mothers that they feel like the expected responsibility falls on their shoulders for meal planning and kind of household management, I would say, overall. And that's something that we need to shift. I've got 2 boys still living at home, and when they are out of the house, either as a roommate living on their own or take a spouse, a partner, I want to make sure that they are being a good partner and not have this expectation that everything becomes mom's responsibility or everything becomes their partner's responsibility. It's important to learn those life skills so that you don't feel overwhelmed. It's difficult to have fulfillment in your life if you feel like you are constantly the one who has to be responsible for the household management. So this is a very important shift to start to make. Most women that I have spoken to who are struggling with fulfillment in their own lives, this is an area that they share it with. I don't have time to do stuff for myself because I have to take care of the household. I don't have time to do stuff for myself because I manage all of the doctor's appointments, all of the schooling stuff, all of the grocery shopping, and the finances, and the list goes on and on and on. And that's why it's so important to start to prioritize yourself, and your family will start to get on board. The world mirrors back to you what your perception is. So this is the way that we're changing our state. We're starting to shift our identity in a small, sustainable way that everybody can get on board with, right? So you're just starting to kind of make these changes, starting to refocus the way that you live your life, and starting to encourage your family or those that are close to you to enjoy more of the moments that you have, to make sure that you are filling your cup and that you're feeling fulfilled in life. After dinner, we kind of disperse, either working on homework, reading, watching a show, whatever kind of deal we want to do. My boys might go outside and play basketball, but after dinner, it's kind of free for all, whatever. I like to also then after dinner, change the lighting in our home. So I go from having the bright lights on to switching to more like amber lighting, and change the lighting so it's as if the sun is going down. This is important to help not only your sleep, but also your family's sleep. Bright lights encourage us that it's wake up time. It's time for us to be awake. When you start to turn those lights down, you change to amber lighting, you just start to relax more. Some nights I really like to go take a bath. The warm water, the relaxation definitely helps me get ready for bed. At least 1 hour before I plan on going to sleep, which I'm an early riser, so I like to be asleep no later than 9:30, sometimes actually even closer to 9. But at least 1 hour before I'm going to sleep, my phone needs to be put away. So I go and I put it on the charger, and I'm essentially done with the phone at that point. Giving my brain kind of that rest from scrolling is not only important for my sleep, but it's also important for my mental well-being. Scrolling your phone can often become a habit that you don't even realize that you've been on your phone for as long as you have. So putting it away, having kind of this switch off time, downtime, there's things that you can set up on your phone to kind of silence rings that you're getting or people being able to contact you. You can kind of turn off the notifications that pop up on the screen. But I like to just go put it away and be done with it for the evening. And then I kick off what's really my nighttime routine. So I like to do some stretches, nothing crazy, probably 5-10 minutes of stretching out my back and my legs, just kind of getting some movement in. I like to use magnesium cream and spray on my back. So I'll add that and do a little bit of a self-massage. I go into the bathroom to do my skincare routine. So make sure that my face is washed, my makeup's off, that I go through kind of my whole process of getting my face ready for bed, which just feels good. And then I put on my pajamas. And then usually about 30 minutes before I want to be asleep, I'll crawl into bed and I'll read for a bit. I do like to kind of spend some time reading before bed. Also within there, either about an hour or 30 minutes before I want to be asleep, I also work on some revision. So I quiet my mind by using a breathing technique. I sit down, close or relax my eyes, take a deep breath in, hold it at the top, take one more quick breath in, hold it, and then let it release through my mouth. I'll do that a couple times until I feel very relaxed, and then just go through my day and maybe find areas that I wish had gone a little bit different and rehearse what it would be like had they gone different. So I just feel that moment. I don't put much pressure on myself. I'm just reviewing. I'm very relaxed, no issues. And then I just review those moments. At that point, I will bring out a journal and just kind of write out how I'm feeling and reflect on how I want to feel when I go to bed. And I mix a lot of this stuff up, right? Sometimes I might do the revision and then go wash my face and then read. Or sometimes I'll wash my face, read, do revision, go to bed. It can really be mixed up. I'm not so tied to the order that it gets done. I just want to get this stuff done before I go to bed because of the mindset that it puts me in. I also like to spend probably about 3 to 5 minutes writing in my journal all the things that went really well that day, even if it's little stuff, like I got a great parking spot at the grocery store, or my kids gave me a big old compliment on the dinner for tonight, or it could be something big. I got a letter that I was waiting for. I got the raise that I was working towards. But I like to spend those moments just kind of reviewing what went well. And I include stuff that I like about myself. So either I was funny that day, I reached out to a friend, I stayed focused on my goals, but something about me that I appreciated that I did that day. And really, seriously, it's 3 to 5 minutes, put you in the best mood, highly recommended. Spend each day giving yourself the gift, I'm going to call it a gift, giving yourself the gift of reviewing what went well for you and what you did well. Even if you can only come up with 1 or 2 things to start, it's somewhere to start. And usually what I have found, even when I first started this practice, was just getting started is really kind of all that I need. And then suddenly, I'll start reviewing stuff that I'm like, oh yeah, and then this happened and I did this and I felt really good about this and I loved my outfit or I loved my shoes. My hair looked phenomenal today, whatever it is. And don't worry about not being gracious or being too full of yourself. It's your journal. Write it all out. And then from there, I just go to sleep. I don't worry about trying to loop a scene. I already have a great feeling within me because I'm going to bed in such an amazing feeling. And if I want to focus on something specific, I'll definitely do that. I have shared, I don't really have visualization skills. I don't see much. I feel like I see it, but I don't physically see it. So I often like to use the lullaby method. So one that's a good example is I had 2 family members that were really not getting along. One was really angry with the other. And so I started going to bed for a while, just imagining that person, the 2 of them, and thinking in my head forgiveness. And I would just kind of feel that forgiveness. And I wouldn't force it. It was just a light feeling. I probably did it for a week and their relationship is completely repaired. It was a very beautiful process to kind of see as I was doing this, that their relationship was being repaired. The anger that they were holding on to was being released. And so it felt like a gift for me and a gift for them. So that's a little bit of my kind of evening routine, the way I'm connecting with my family, which is very important, the way I'm connecting with myself, the way that I'm making sure that I'm optimizing to get my best sleep, that I'm setting up my environment well. And now I want to kind of give you some insight into some of the items that I do to make sure that I'm set up for success in the morning. I have shared before, but definitely an issue of mine is waking up in the morning and wanting to grab my phone right away. And then my phone gets my attention instead of my goals or my desired outcome, the ideal way that I want to live. And so my phone, I want it to stay for at least the first hour of my day out of my face where it is. So if I'm struggling with that, I will actually either go charge it somewhere else. So that's setting me up for success, because if I go to grab it when I'm kind of half awake, it's not there. Or I'll put a sticky note on it. So if I grab it and pick it up, it's got a sticky note reminding me of why I'm doing this and what I would prefer to do. And the reason why. Remember, if you are not living the exact life that you want to, you're not having the outcomes that you want, you're not feeling the way that you want, it's time to change your routines. It's time to take a look at your habits and say, I can't live a new life if I continue doing the same thing that I did yesterday. That's what it means to die to your old self. It's because that person, that version of you, that identity, that state, we're no longer staying there. We're going into a new state, a new identity. And any new state and new identity comes with new habits. It has new routines. It has new ways of you thinking, believing, acting, and focusing. And so you have to make some changes in order to become that new person. You cannot pour new wine into your old state, right? Like you're going to really start to shift and change your perspectives, the way that you see the world, the way that you see yourself, especially, because the more that you change the way that you see yourself, the person you are, the way that you're spending your time, the identity that you hold true for yourself, the more that you'll see that reflected out to you from the world. And trust me, limiting some of your phone use, especially if you have a tendency to kind of scroll Instagram or to scroll TikTok for hours, and especially if you allow your social media feeds to make you feel bad about the life that you're living, the things that you're doing, well, then get off social media and go live the life that you want instead. Get off listening and gathering information and go do the things instead. My ideal goal is that at some point you'll come back and tell me, I still like listening to your podcast to get like kind of inspiration or some new ideas here and there, but I don't feel like I need it anymore to tell me how to live my ideal life because I've already figured that one out. And I followed these steps and now I'm living a happier, more fulfilled, more joy-filled life because you're doing these steps. And then you don't need to continue to seek more information about how to do it because you are. The other one that I did was I started to set up workout clothes for myself on my bathroom counter so that right when I walked in, it was something that I saw and it was a cue for me. Like, oh, here's something that I want to do. I don't want to sit in my pajamas for 2 hours, scrolling my phone, drinking coffee, and not really getting anything done. And yes, that was my morning routine before I started all of this. And while I absolutely loved many parts of my life, there was other parts that I wanted more from. I wanted more freedom. I wanted to feel like I had more time with my family. I wanted to feel like I was more energized and that I was more just overall fulfilled in my personal life, in the things that I was doing for me. And I also wanted to feel like I was giving back to others. That was kind of a big driving point for me doing this podcast or any of my content really, was to make sure sure that I was giving back. I really wanted others to be able to have more fulfillment and happiness in their life, to not feel so down, to not feel like they're overwhelmed and that life is just too much and that they're looked at as this like household manager and not this vibrant, beautiful human being who can do so much. And part of that for me was to start moving my body more in the morning, to get outside, to spend more time in the sun, to make sure that my dog was getting a quality walk in the morning. Like that's the brightest part of his day. If you have a dog, I'm sure that you know there's little things that you can do that like really brighten their day. And being able to do that for him is really important to me because he enjoys it so much. And it's such a great way for him to start his day as well, and for me. So it's like a win-win. And having those workout clothes right in front of me was definitely a cue. Any habit loop that you go through follows a loop, a cycle. So you start with a cue, which can be seeing the clothes, feeling the sticky note, not finding your phone, time of day, person, place, smell. I mean, there's so many things that can cue, but it's pretty much like a trigger in your brain. Like, oh, here's, now we've got to fall into this routine. And so it would then kick off a routine and then you get a reward. So for me, the cue is seeing my workout clothes sitting there on the counter. The routine is to go ahead and get into those clothes out of my pajamas and then go start the rest of my day, which includes making sure I take a walk, that I spend time out in the morning sun, that I do my stretches, some yoga in the morning. I definitely am somebody who can fall into having a very tight back and neck. So including this movement is really important for me so that I can continue to have mobility as I get older. And so it is something I want to focus on. It is something that I have a desired outcome to be able to continue to move as I become an old happy lady. And the reward is that I just feel better. When I spend my mornings doing my morning routine, I feel better overall. I just as a person have a better day. I'm more energized. I'm more awake. And so, next week on Monday, the episode is about morning routines as well. So today it was to really talk about kind of your night routine, making sure you're getting quality sleep, the things that you can do to make sure that you are aligned to your ideal self as you go to sleep. So within Neville Goddard's technique and multiple other mystical teachers, that you are focused on how you want to feel, the life that you want, and being that person right now. So if you do these night routines, this is in alignment with your ideal self. Well, clearly you're going to bed as your ideal self. You've just done all these things that confirm to you that you are this ideal person, which means that as you go to sleep, you are that person. Like clearly you're doing the things, you have the habits, you have the routines, you are creating this new life for yourself, this new identity for yourself. And it's an absolutely beautiful, beautiful process. So again, just as like a really quick recap, you are going to take a look at your night routine and make sure that you align it with the person that you want to be. Consider some ways that I shared that can like help you get some better sleep. So another one is to not do like an intense workout, a few hours before bed. You can take a bath or a warm shower to kind of start to calm yourself and start to prepare you for sleep. You can change your lights from being really bright in the house to change into like amber colored lights, really lighter, bringing down the tone so you're not having these lights telling you it's time to be awake. Reading, doing revision, skincare, and putting your phone away. So not being on your phone, not really even watching TV. Falling asleep on the couch, probably not the best for your sleep. So start to find a routine that allows you to unwind for about an hour before bed, and you'll start to see that your sleep will improve. And then find ways to set up yourself for the most success in the morning. Say, this is how I want my day to go. This is how my ideal self would behave in the morning. What little things can I do to set off a cue for myself so that I wake up and begin my day in that way? Another really good one is to start training yourself to say like some positive affirmations when you first wake up. So either today is a remarkable day, every single day in every single way, everything is getting better and better. I'm excited for this day. I look forward to, and put in whatever it is that you look forward to that day. And some ways to do that is also, again, with sticky notes. So if you know that you reach for your phone right away in the morning, then maybe replace your phone with a sticky note that has your affirmation on it. And in time, that will start to become your default thought when you wake up. So don't be concerned if, like, when you first wake up, your first thought is, oh, I feel like crap. Don't worry about it. Then you reach over, start to grab your phone, and have that sticky note. You can write it on your mirror so that when you go in, you're setting up a cue for yourself that you are going to feel better. And I will go over this a little bit more next week when I talk about morning routines, the ways that you can speak kinder to yourself in the morning, use positive affirmations within that time that are more general, so don't feel fake to you. It's not toxic positivity. It's just really kind of leaning into starting to shift your mindset and your perceptions of what you're paying attention to. So I hope you found this beneficial. I will be back on Wednesday. Again, that episode is going to be around emotional intelligence, being able to regulate your emotions, which is really important for this whole process. So Wednesday, October 18th, that will be the episode. And then next Monday, we'll talk about morning routines. I hope you have an absolutely beautiful week. And I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any questions or anything you'd like to go over, please shoot me an email. It's actually unleashinghappiness@ceciliahendricks.com. The greatest compliment you could give is by sharing this with your network. So if you found this episode helpful, the information helpful for you to implement in your own life to become more fulfilled, I do ask that you share it with somebody that you think would also find it beneficial. It helps me by getting my message out further, plus it helps them by giving the information that can help them really find more fulfillment in their life. Thank you again for joining me today. If you'd like to learn more about all things going on with me, go ahead and visit my website at ceciliahendricks.com.